Good morning, guys. So, for our focus today, we're going to look at page 84 and 85 in your decision making packet. Hopefully, you're caught up to date. We're skipping one decision making. We're going to head back to it in a little bit. But last week, you read about the different strategies that Native American Indians could use to hold on to their land. So, Tecumseh used the fighting technique, and that worked until he lost that fight, literally. During the War of 1812 against the United States. He was killed. And the Cherokee Native Americans used assimilation, where they adopted the culture of Americans, and then they used their newly acquired written language and their schools and their education to take their case to the Supreme Court. In the case Worcester versus Georgia, the Supreme Court decided that the Cherokee were correct, that they deserved to keep their land as they were promised in previous treaties with the United States. But unfortunately for the Cherokee, they weren't able to actually hold on to their land because of Presidents Jackson and Van Buren decided they didn't care what the Supreme Court said. So they were removed. Also, you added to your timeline, the Seminole Native Americans decided to stay and fight, and they were actually the most successful in Florida. Their fighting techniques using guerrilla warfare helped them to hold on to their land for a little bit. But by the end of the 1840s, almost all Native Americans were moved from the east of the Mississippi River to different land that they were completely unfamiliar with west of the Mississippi River. Anyway, so the Haudenosaunee people were some that held on to a little bit of land, and there was also a little bit held on to in Florida. But today we're going to shift our focus to what was going on in the north and in the south of the United States in the 1800s and how those economies became different. So the first thing we're going to do is preview here. So we're looking at 1828. So in my mind, I'm thinking about the Erie Canal, which we'll talk about at some point, but that's kind of newly opened. I'm looking at the title, New England Industrialist. So New England, I'm reminded of, is the states of Connecticut and Massachusetts and New Hampshire and Rhode Island. Industrialist has this root word, industrial, meaning like in a factory. And the question that they have to answer is, how can we protect our new industry? So I'm curious about what that industry might be. What do they make in these factories in New England? I'm also going to take a look down at the picture, and it's mill workers. I notice that these people are women, and this looks like fabric. So Lowell mill workers. I'm wondering what Lowell is. I'm also going to take a minute to put this back in the right direction. Preview the questions. So who are you in this story? Where do you get your cotton from? What do you make with the cotton? What's another word for cloth? What's another word that means a building with machinery for manufacturing? What kind of factory makes cloth? Where can merchants buy cloth? What is now? What is they? Why is European less expensive than American cloth? Why do merchants buy the least expensive cloth? To make more money, I think is the answer to that one. In paragraph 4, what does this mean? And then what do you want to do? Okay, so let's go back and read this together. Zoomy. There we go. It is 1828. You own a textile mill in Lowell, Massachusetts. You buy cotton from planters in the southern states. Your mill makes cotton cloth. So you buy cotton from states in the south, and then you turn cotton, like fluffy plants, into cloth, which you sell everywhere in America. Textile mills are new in America. So textile mill must be something that turns cotton into cloth. The only textile mills used to be in Europe, especially England. Now, American mills can produce very nice cloth too. So it used to be just in England. Now in the United States, you can make your own cloth. In England, the mill owners use children to work in the mills. The children work for very low pay. The owners do not make the working conditions healthy. They, being the owners, just want to keep the cost of making cloth low so they can make more money, right? So if you have to pay people not very much, you get to make more money on profit. In Lowell, the town in Massachusetts, you pay good wages to your workers. You keep the mills as healthy as possible. So your working conditions are good. You try to take good care of your workers, right? So healthy work environment, you take good care of people, you pay them good wages. This, all three of those things, cost money. And the price for your cloth is higher than the price for European cloth, right? So because you're so good to your employees, your cloth costs more money. When American merchants buy cloth, they buy the least expensive cloth. And unfortunately for you, that's not yours. Because Lowell cloth is more expensive, many merchants buy European cloth instead. What should you do to protect the American textile industry and save your mill? So how can you encourage people to buy your cloth instead of English?